Is Matthew Stafford worth $160 million? He is now. If you're the LA Rams and you just got you a Super Bowl, it's time to pay Matthew Stafford a deal that's going to keep him in Los Angeles as the Rams quarterback for the next 4 years, which is probably going to be close to the time that Matthew stops playing. Maybe not be the end, but $160 million, that's coming from Adam Schefter at ESPN. 4 year, $160 million extension includes, is this right? $135 million guarantee. So that is an extremely significant um, professional achievement for Matthew. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the money the entire time. Covered Matthew before he even got to Georgia, so I've got a long history there. It's awesome for him and his family. They get the ability, really more than the money. Okay, money is great. Matthew's got money. It gives him the ability to have stability in a situation. We're seeing more and more guys in the NFL. I mean, I'm not sure guys anymore that are playing football as quarterbacks in the NFL are going to be at one franchise from here on out. If you just look around the league, there's just way too much shifting. I would have thought, and I don't care about the Falcons, I would have thought Matt Ryan had been with the Falcons his entire career. That's not the case. Obviously, Watson moving around, Baker Mayfield. These guys were just drafted not that long ago. So, for Matthew to be able to go through the stretch of time he did in Detroit, where he did. I'm not aware that he complained. All right, publicly, and he wanted to win there. That was very clear to me when I talked with him before he even got to Detroit. He wanted to go play for Detroit. He wanted to be number one draft pick, but he also wanted to go to Detroit. You know, now though, again, we're a decade into his career, and there are always going to be critics. There are always going to be criticisms and skepticisms about players. I live in that world. That's part of what I do for a living. And so Matthew still has more to do. He can still grow. Honestly, 4 more years, he can still win another Super Bowl. But as a former NFL player that I know relatively well would say, this is a job. This is a career. This isn't about, hey, um, I want to play at this place. There's only a few people that can do that, and almost all of them are quarterbacks. Matthew turns out to be one of them. And unlike a lot of people, Tom Brady is in the same boat with Matthew on this. Matthew left and then succeeded immediately at the place that he went to. So, as great as the AFC is with quarterbacks, the last few championships, two of them have come from the NFC, and it's been because of the play of the quarterbacks. We thought Matthew had retired Tom Brady, but obviously that wasn't the case. But anymore, this is great news. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's a guy in the NFL more associated with Georgia than Matthew. Nick Chubb for sure. Probably, man, some other guys too. I mean, you can't really differentiate Sony Michel and Leonard Floyd and guys like that. But being the quarterback and being such a big deal at Georgia too, Matthew really is the flag bearer right now for Georgia's NFL guys. Nick just signed a huge deal to stay with the Browns. Now he's got Deshaun Watson on his team. We'll see if that changes things dramatically for the Browns. We'll see. That organization has not always been run the greatest on earth. Guys like Leonard Floyd with the Rams, Sony Michel with the Bucks lately, and had been with the Patriots. No, excuse me, Sony's with the Rams. Sorry about that. I don't know why I said that. That was a mistake. But a lot of these guys who have been at Georgia are having serious professional success, and they're not afterthoughts. They're the reason that Georgia they're the reason that their franchises have been winning. And that's why these guys have value. Um, that Matthew handled his transition from Detroit to Los Angeles in a quiet way, in a dignified way, has been, is another cap in his, a feather in his cap. But, listen, man, Matthew's not changed. It doesn't seem like to me. I'm sure he's grown up being a father and all of that, but uh, I am not surprised that Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl. I am not surprised that he was the starting quarterback of the franchise that won the Super Bowl. Winning two is kind of puts you in a different stratosphere, but that is totally possible. And for folks who say, "Well, this guy's not a Hall of Fame guy," well, he's still got some time left, to do that, and we'll just see. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff that's on his side in terms of the Hall of Fame. And if Matt Ryan is a Hall of Fame guy, I don't know how Matthew Stafford is not. So you can't have both. And now that a lot of the folks watching this who are probably Falcons fans would have gone to bat for Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl. And you don't think that matters? It does. I mean, if Eli Manning doesn't win those Super Bowls, there's no shot he goes into the Hall of Fame. And right now, I don't see how you keep him out. I mean, Matthew Stafford has better case for the Hall of Fame than Eli Manning to me, in terms of production over time, and it could be in terms of Super Bowl wins. They could be evened up. I don't see Matthew winning three or four because the Rams were built so quick to win. But for Georgia, it's just another example of a five-star player having a lot of success and going on to the NFL, and creating generational wealth for his family, his girls, and it's great. I'm a huge Matthew supporter. I think that he had a challenging time at Georgia in a way that would be hard for people to understand. He was certainly not the reason they lost games in 2008. I can't say he was the reason they lost them in 2007. And some of his, spectacular performances came before that. I mean, his drive against Georgia Tech in 2006 to win that game was the stuff of legend, and we don't talk about that game, and that is as much part of Matthew's legacy at Georgia as the Florida game in '07, as the Auburn game, the blackout, as the Hawaii game, a Sugar Bowl win. I mean, Georgia doesn't exactly roll around in Sugar Bowl wins, and Matthew is responsible for one of them, very clearly and directly responsible for one of them. At the time, they were ranked number one in the country. People view that team as a failure. I mean, okay, but Georgia again hasn't exactly been running around with number one rankings all the time either. So Matthew elevated the uh, brand that is Georgia. Um, Obviously, what David and DJ did before Matthew was important. It was. But when Matthew came along was right when those two guys were at the beginning of it, and Matthew's time in the SEC was when it just accelerated up. And there was a new deal from Disney that came to fruition right after Matthew left, and that was because of guys like Matthew, Tebow, etc. There were just total star power in the league, and now we're seeing Matthew, as his time has gone on, really continue to be successful in the business of football, and it's not easy to do, but this will keep him in the league for close to 20 years, not 20 years, but close. And let me just look how long he's been in the league, because it's been some time now. And you know his total contract, his total career earnings has been through the roof, needless to say. But this will be year 14. So he will be, when this contract ends, and it remains to be seen if he will be on this contract at the end of the thing. This would be year 18 of Matthew Stafford in the NFL. And I'll tell you right now, he has had some seriously good years that no one has paid attention to because it was in Detroit, Michigan. And, you know, besides Thanksgiving, nobody really watched the Detroit Lions play. There was no reason to. Anyway, Matthew, with a $160 million contract from the LA Rams, 130 of which is guaranteed. How about that? Way to go, Matthew.